Good morning. Welcome to Walking Boxing. It is Saturday, or is it August the 2nd today? I hope I've got that right. It is. Yeah, it's August the 2nd. And what a beautiful day we've got today. I was tempted to actually put the beanie on. I'm glad I didn't. It said it was about 4 degrees when I was about to come for the walk. So I thought, I looked at the temperature yesterday, said it was about 4, and I put the beanie on. It ended up getting a little bit hot. So I've put the cap on today, and I'm glad I did because, as I said, the sun's coming out. It's going to be a beautiful winter's day, which is fantastic. And you can see as well there, Neil enjoying his walk. He sort of takes me for a walk most days. But anyway, on this day, actually, there's not a lot going on in the world of boxing, so I'll get to the episode in a second, what I'm going to talk about. But firstly, we'll go back in history to 2008. Mexico's Oscar Larios knocked out Marlon Aguilar in the 7th round in Mexico to defend the world featherweight title. In 2005, Nicaragua's Juan Palacios won the strawweight title with a knockout of Omar Soto in the 10th round. And in where was it? It was 1980. Go back to 1980. Thomas, the Hitman Hearns, won his first ever world title with a 2nd round destruction of Mexico's Pepino Cuevas. And that was for the WBA welterweight title, or 147-pound title, at the Joe Louis Arena in Detroit. And how good would it have been for Thomas Hearns to win his title in such devastating fashion in his hometown. Now, that was Cuevas making his 12th defence in 4 years, so he's obviously pretty active. And you remember that Thomas Hearns with that brutal right hand had him doing the chicken dance, and another right hand absolutely flattened him. So, and then of course what would go on for the Hitman after that? He'd fight, of course, Sugar Ray Leonard the following year, suffer probably his most disappointing loss of his career, arguably. Some might say Marvin Hagler, but I thought the Leonard fight was disappointing because he was actually winning the fight. And it was, the 14th round. Of course, we had to go on 12 rounds. Who knows, history might have been a little bit different as far as how they view the fighters, but that was on this day in 1980. And what a big welterweight he was. Was he 6'2", something like that? Wow, with that right hand. Whew, unbelievable. Although I do think he did his best work at 154 to 160, but anyway, that's arguable. Now, in the world of boxing today, not a hell of a lot going on. So in the world scene, we've got the continued talk of Jake Paul fighting Anthony Joshua. It can't be real, can it? Now, if it is real and actually Jake Paul steps up to fight Anthony Joshua, I mean, you've got to give him his, what do they say, his flowers, I suppose, for taking on Joshua. But really, we talked about this the other day. I can't see it happening, but it continues to gather momentum. Every day there seems to be stories about it. The other thing I saw is Ryan Garcia. He's had a sit-down interview and discussed Oscar De La Hoya. It's a really love-hate relationship there, isn't it? I just imagine how awkward it would be. I know it's probably different at the top because they only sort of deal with each other when there's a fight about to happen, but Ryan Garcia open about his disdain for Oscar De La Hoya and how he says it's all about him and all the attention, and he tries to undermine him and everything else. Look, there's always two sides to the story, of course, and I'm sure Oscar would have his say and say, well, hey, look, we've made Ryan a star, made him a lot of money, got him the big fights, continue to have his back, all those sorts of things. But it was interesting to see a fighter have a sit-down interview and pretty much rip shreds off Oscar De La Hoya about how he's such a bad person, a bad promoter, and he should have listened to Canelo when he said to leave him. And because this also happened about, 5 or 6 years ago, and Ryan Garcia was same thing, probably even more vocal, and they ended up patching things up and moving on, and they've had a few fights together, and I think they've got one fight to go from memory. So you would expect that Ryan Garcia will move, although with his personality and decision making and the way he's so erratic and unpredictable, who knows? The odds are he could re-sign with Oscar again, and in 2 years' time he's having the same conversation. I don't know, but to think he's only 26 years of age, still with so many fights in front of him. I really hope he sort of gets himself together. And we all remember, was it a couple of months ago when Oscar shared the screenshots of his rant to him on social media. I can't remember if it was Twitter or whatever, or X or Instagram, whatever it was, but pretty much say this. So this is the state of mind that Ryan Garcia is in, and he needs some help, and we'll just continue to battle away with him and everything else. So I'm hoping that they get it together, because they have done some really good things together, but you would think that Ryan Garcia will go the way of Canelo Alvarez and sever ties, and who knows, they might have some altercations at future press conferences if Ryan Garcia comes up against a Oscar De La Hoya fighter, who knows, but definitely some issues there. On the Australian front, I see that Andrew Maloney's world title eliminator against Archie Cortez has been put back another week. So it was, I think, scheduled to be, I think initially it was at the same weekend as Tim's fight from memory, or the week after, something. I think it was the same weekend. It was put back to August the 9th, and now it's back to August the 16th. So I'm not quite sure what's happened there. When I first read it, I thought, oh, here we go, because the first line was, my fight's been put back, and I thought, oh, geez, I hope he hasn't gone all the way to Mexico to be able to, to be turned around and come back and have to go back a month later or something like that. But it's only a week, so maybe there was some scheduling conflicts with different things. You would think they would have that worked out before they actually schedule the date. So let's just hope that it's all locked in. So what's the day? So it's 2 weeks from today, actually. So that'll be good. So I'm hoping Andy can get the win. It's such an exciting time for him. Numerous times in his career, he's probably thought it was all over after the Nakatani loss. Then after the loss in Perth last year, it looked to be all over. I actually spoke to Andrew a couple of times, and it was getting hard because, of course, the Top Rank promotion ended. As it does in boxing, there's no mercy. It's just, well, we're done with you, see you later. And I really felt for Andrew, and you see that he fought in Melbourne at the Melbourne Pavilion on a really small show there, just to get a fight in before the end of 2024 so he could maintain his ranking. And he just hung in there and kept training and kept grinding, as they say. And he's got the world title opportunity if he beats Archie Cortez. So big stakes for Andrew. It obviously looks like his last roll of the dice. What is he, 33, 34, something now? So you would think that this could be it. I'm really confident he can beat Archie Cortez. The only thing that I don't like is the fact that it's in Mexico. I would like it maybe it was on neutral turf, but Andrew, that won't worry him. I did see actually on his social media, Angelo Hyder, there was a spin class or something in wherever they are, Mexico City, wherever they are, and they walk past and there's a spin class going on, and so Angelo Hyder walks in, no shirt or anything on, and just walks in and starts dancing at the door and gets shooed out by the owner. I'm not sure you should be mucking around with that sort of stuff in Mexico. I'm not sure they've got the sense of humour of maybe what we have over here, or America or England. It's a different culture over there, but he's a laugh, Angelo, and he's actually going to feature in what I'm going to talk about in a second, actually. But the other thing, and actually to go back a bit, I did see Jason over there as well, looking to get the next fight locked in at some stage as well. Looks like he's in great nick, and don't know about that moustache though, Jason. It doesn't look too bad, but I think he'll actually fit in with the Mexican boys over there, but not sure that George is going to like that ongoing, that little mustache that he's got at the moment. But I'm hoping that Jason will get something locked in soon as well. But he looks like he's in really good nick and ready for another tilt at a world title shot. So the other thing, George Rose / Don King is in the news, this time in regards to Liam Paro and a possible fight with Manny Pacquiao. Now, as they always do, it was on the main event. I think it was on the main event page. Of course, the Australian media all over it. The potential of Manny Pacquiao coming back to Australia, and this time fighting Liam Paro at Suncorp Stadium. We remember when Jeff Horn fought Manny back in the day, 2017, 50,000 people there. What a day that was. I was actually there. Couldn't believe I got sunburnt in the first week of July. Normally here in Victoria, we've got the beanies and scarves and coats on, and I'm getting sunburnt in Queensland. But it was just one of the most memorable days I've ever seen or ever been part of in boxing up there. It was amazing. But George has said they're looking to get Manny Pacquiao back to Suncorp Stadium to fight Liam. Now, great in theory. I'm sure all the news sites will be all over it, which is awesome. That's what it's about. But look, if I'm being honest, I would say there's probably, 0.1% chance that Manny Pacquiao comes back to Australia. I know the money will be there, and I know it'll be great news for Manny. But this is not 8 years ago when Manny Pacquiao was 38 years of age back then. I don't think they'll be able to get the same amount of money. I think the other thing is Manny will have other big fights. He can probably get twice as much money fighting someone else than Liam. And I just don't think it's going to happen. Come on, buddy. Morning, how you doing? Come on, man. So as great as it is, and as much as I'd like to see it, I don't see it happening. Manny Pacquiao being 46, he's going to target the big names. And unfortunately, I know Liam's he's not really even a big name here in Australia, unfortunately, and that shouldn't be the case. But in world scene, even less. So I think the odds of Manny Pacquiao fighting Liam Paro is next to nothing. And they've got to remember too, there's no title at stake. So what is Manny fighting for? You reckon he's going to come to Australia and fight Liam Paro, which would be a big event, don't get me wrong, but he's going to come to Australia and fight a person with, it's not really well known in Australia, let alone overseas, in a big fight. Yeah, I just don't see it happening, especially, as I said, with no title on the line. So good in theory, and as I said, I'm sure all the media sites will be all over it. I remember back in the day, it was leaked that Canelo Alvarez was coming to Australia to fight Anthony Mundine in front of 100,000 people at the MCG, and all the media went nuts. It was obviously never going to happen. But when's that mattered when you put a story out like that to get people talking? And it's probably not a bad ploy, really, when you look at it, by No Limit and George Rose, by putting it out there, because what they're after desperately is probably to get Liam's name out there a bit more. End of the day, that's what they are. They're promoters. They promote their fighters and with their image and everything else as well, not just in the ring. And maybe that's what they've done, is just leaked it out just to get a bit more publicity about Liam and get people talking about him. And because even the most casual fans, they all know who Manny Pacquiao is, of course. They all probably remember the Jeff Horn fight back in 2017. So why not leak it out there and get Liam some publicity? One thing I'm a little bit worried about Liam, though, I think he's been hanging out with Michael Zerafa a bit too long, now talking about himself in the third person. Not sure if that's the new trend amongst fighters. I don't know, but he did say he wouldn't want a part of Liam Paro. Did Liam about himself? But anyway, but look, yeah, it'd be fantastic if it happened, but I just think it is no hope. I think as far as the money goes, back in the day, Dean Lonergan and Duco were able to, do massive things with the Queensland government. And look, by all accounts, the Queensland Premier and the events committee up there are looking to do a few more things as far as big events up there. So you never know. I just think it's more so where Manny Pacquiao is at with his career. Now, if he got offered $10 million to come down and fight Liam Paro, that's great. But he's probably going to get $10 million, or probably more than $10 million, and a title shot by fighting the likes of Barrios or Norman or Haney or these types of guys. So, and you can imagine what he'd get if he fought someone like a Conor Benn in England or something like that. I mean, he'd probably get twice that. So I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but Manny Pacquiao isn't coming to Australia to fight Liam Paro. I hope this doesn't come back to bite me in about 3 months when they announce the fight, by the way. But anyway, if it does happen, I'll be happy to be proven wrong. Anyway, all right, so in this episode, as I said, there's not a lot happening in Australian or world boxing at the moment that I haven't sort of covered in the last sort of couple of weeks. So what I thought I'd do today is a top 10 of Australian boxing, but with a little bit of a twist. This is not the fighters I'm going to do a top 10 with. It's actually the trainers. Now, a lot of talk recently about trainers, especially when it comes to Tim and Nikita Tszyu and everything else. And everyone's always got a theory of who's the best promoters and who should do this and who should do that. So look, I'm going to run the slippery slope again and do a top 10. It always gets people talking, gets people upset. People say, I don't know what I'm talking about, all that sort of stuff, and that's cool. It's just my opinion. A little bit of a twist, though, with this one. It's probably more, even though I'll do the top 10, the top 5 I'll do in order. The other 5 will probably just be in sort of random, or it's hard to separate them. Now, the one thing I will say straight off the bat is that It's very, very difficult. I haven't obviously worked with all the trainers. I haven't been in the corner with them. I haven't been in the camps. I'm just going by what I see from a distance, from what I see from the fighters, the condition they get them in, the tactics they use, the in-ring adjustments they might make during the fights, and just the results that their fighters are getting at the moment. So again, it's not gospel. It's not. It's pretty hard to do when you obviously, as I said, I'm not in the corner with them, but it's just from a distance, from what I perceive. So I'm going to do the bottom 5 for starters. Actually, I did make a list. I better get it out or I'll forget. Again, these last 5 in no particular order, just from a distance. Again, I've got Benny Harrington, and really good trainer. Obviously trains Liam Wilson and Vegas Larfield and a few of the others. I'm just, who are the other guys? He's got a lot of good amateurs. Just from a distance, I think Benny he speaks to his fighters really well, always in really good nick, as are all these trainers, by the way. They always get their fighters in good nick. But I just like the way I've seen him. Where was I? In Phoenix when he fought Oscar Valdez. I was over there, and he just has a really good rapport with his fighters, nice and relaxed, and as I said, always gets him in good nick. I like the way he speaks to the fighters in between rounds, and he's getting results. I'd probably like to see Liam work on his defence a little bit more, but no doubt they already have been doing that, but it's pretty hard to change things on a fighter just with a click of the fingers. It takes time. But I really like the way Benny Harrington goes about his work with the amateurs and pros, and I've got him sort of in the top, or the second 5 anyway. So I've also got Gareth Williams. Now, Gareth trains the big fella Teramona. He trains Shannon O'Connell, Jack Bowen, Cooper O'Connell. Really like the way Gareth goes about it as well. Think he's, again, really good in the corner. And this is probably the one of the major things of being a good boxing trainer. It's not getting exciting, yelling and screaming and carrying on and upsetting your fighter. I know there's probably a time where you need to probably motivate your fighter a little bit more, but I like the ones that are cool and collected. So I've got Gareth in there, and a very, very knowledgeable guy as well when it comes to boxing. So good trainer is Gareth. The other one I had is Tapu Opataya. Now, he obviously trains his son Jai, and has got a lot of good amateurs and all that as well. And I think he's working with, is he with Shay? No, not Shay. Excuse me, Shay Keneally. Is he with Desi Robinson? I can't remember, but either way, the fact is with Jai, I think he's only just come on with Jai, though he had a lot to do with his career early days, obviously being his dad. It was with Mark Wilson there for a while, was Jai, but really like Tapu. Look, the thing is, I don't probably know enough about Tapu as far as his work at sort of ground level with his fighters, but already from a distance with Jai, again, really good relationship with him, cool in the corner. And I think he's improved Jai in a lot of areas as far as his game goes, and I really like the way he goes about it. And a really nice guy as well. So that's Tapu Opataya. And then the other one was Lincoln Hudson. Got a lot of respect for Lincoln Hudson. He's a bit out there as Lincoln, a little bit left to centre. Love to have his say, but I love it. I remember actually Lincoln, when I was fighting back in the 90s, the late 90s, he was actually a referee back then as an amateur. And he refereed a lot of my fights, did Lincoln Hudson. And I sort of got to know him a little bit when I was promoting and just being around the pros, and just really like what he does. He gets his fighters not just in physical shape, but he's really good with the mental side of things as well. He's probably more, he likes to get his fighters sort of worked up a little bit as well. He's worked obviously with Will Tomlinson, and probably his sort of main guys worked with others like Kai McKenzie and others, but I really like the way he goes about it, and I think he's a very, very good trainer, is Lincoln Hudson. Really knows his stuff. And the other one, is that 5? 1, 2, 3, 4. So one more. I have 10 there? I've got one a little bit left to centre for this one. And I've gone for a guy by the name of, g'day, how you doing? I've gone for a guy that I know really, really well, and this will probably surprise a few people because he's not overly well known. And I'm going to go for a young fella named Sam Brizzy. Now, he's from the famous Brizzy Brothers Gym in Preston in Victoria. More so an amateur trainer, but has had a lot of pros as well. And I think that he's really more concentrating on the amateurs these days because he's part of the Olympics coaching mob and the coaching team, and other teams are going around the world. So I sort of get what he's doing at the moment. He's only, geez, it'd have to be, what would he be? Late 30s, I'm sort of gathering, or mid 30s. He's not that old. He's obviously been around his dad, his late dad, Cos, and his uncle Ben, and they just do great things. I did actually see a podcast with Sam on it recently, and I have been meaning to talk to him since I've ever started this channel, and someone's beaten me to it now, but he really knows his stuff, does Sam, and as I said, I've got a lot of respect for him. I still remember when I was fighting in the early 90s, I remember him being at ringside with his dad and his uncle at about 4 or 5 years of age. So that's how long it's been. But he really knows his stuff. And as I said, he's more concentrating on the amateurs at the moment, even though that he does have pros. And I've got no doubt if he turns his attention from the amateurs to just the pros, he could do some really, really good things in the world of professional boxing. He's already doing great things with the amateurs. And again, I'll say I've got a lot of respect for Sam, and hopefully one day he'll turn to the pros. Although maybe because he's been around amateur boxing his whole life, maybe that will be his calling, that he'll rule the roost in Aussie amateur boxing. But we'll see. I really enjoyed his interview the other day, by the way. So check it out. I can't remember what channel it was on, but it was a good interview. I'm sure if you YouTube it, you'll find it. All right, now to the top 5. Now, this is again always fraught with danger. I'm going to start with, this is a guy that probably polarizes a few, and that's Jeff Fenech. I'm going to put him at number 5. I know he gets a lot of flack from people as far as, you're a great fighter but not a good trainer, all that sort of stuff, and with Brock and everything. I just think Jeff is a very, very, very good trainer. The only probably criticism I would have of Jeff is he probably tries to make his fighters fight like him. And this is probably, again, what a lot of fighters are guilty of when they train fighters. They try and make the fighters sort of replicas of them. And they can't fight like Jeff Fenech. Jeff Fenech is Jeff Fenech. He's a one of a kind. I just don't think you can do that. And I think that's what was the case with Brock Jarvis a little bit when he was training him, probably more so, instead of using his height and reach and everything that he had advantages of, especially when he was a 122 to 130 pound fighter. He was sort of getting in close like Jeff used to do and putting the head on the chest and ripping and hooking inside. But look, apart from it, I just think Jeff is a motivator. Obviously gets him super fit. He knows all the tricks of the trade, so his fighters don't get hoodwinked in fights. And I think he makes the right call when it comes to his fighters as well. So I know some people might disagree with that, but got a lot of respect for Jeff as a fighter and a trainer. All right, the next one I have is Steve Dalla. I'll put / Luke Meldon because they are a team, and I really again have a lot of respect for Steve and Luke. They've trained a lot of fighters over the years up there in Fortitude. You've got Luke you got Steve who's sort of the professor up there, more the overseer. Then you've got Luke who's a more hands-on sort of guy. And they've just done great things up there. Just, good fighters coming out of that stable all the time. Dennis Hogan and just to name, or just the first one, but a lot of others. Shannon O'Connell they trained as well, but a lot of really good fighters. And I know I'm probably just touching the surface here. So Steve, if you're watching, apologies. I don't know all the fighters you've had over the years. Actually, and he always never lets me down, lets me live it down when I actually beat one of his fighters in the Australian titles back in '97. That was Paul Miller. And he's never let me, every time I see him, he says, "You beat my fighter," and everything else. But he's a real character, is Steve Dalla. And Luke Meldon does a really good job up there with him as well. Come here, man. Got to get out of this car park here. Come on, cars everywhere. All right, now, the excuse me. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. Nothing worse if you're listening and you're hearing me coughing. All right, number 3, I have Alfie DiCarlo. Now, Alfie hasn't had a lot of experience as far as training a wide-ranging amount of fighters, but from what he's done with Liam Paro, I just have so much respect for what he's done with Liam. And we all saw him against Breel Matthias when Liam was really struggling in the later rounds, and he got him up, and not just his technical aspect, he's really improved Liam out of sight, fight by fight. But when he got him up in that fight, to get that little extra out of him to get him over the line, that is a sign of a very good trainer. Again, cool, calm, composed. And I just think he's done really good things with Liam, and I think Alfie DiCarlo for me is number 3. And I think if he probably branches out a little bit more down the track, I think you'd find a lot of fighters would go to him in the hope of improving and following in the shoes of Liam Paro. Now, just quickly, the last 2 I've got Billy Hussein. Now, again, someone that hasn't really been recognised a lot in the recent years, but of course he's the brother of Nadal and Skinny Hussein. He's trained the likes of Billy Dibb, Vic Darchenian, very, very good trainer at the Body Punch gym up there in Sydney, and just goes about his business very, very knowledgeable. So much respect for Billy, and he is an excellent trainer and doing great things. And I think they still do shows up there as well as promotions and that sort of stuff. So Billy Hussein for me, number 2. Sorry to rush through these last few guys, or we'll be here all day if I don't. And number 1 for me is Angelo Hyder. I just think what he's done, he was obviously an assistant back with Jeff Fennick back in the day, but what he's done with Danny Green and the Maloneys, I've seen a lot of him firsthand. That's probably a reason why I might be a little sort of pushed in his direction, because I've actually seen him training the twins and just knows everything there is to know about boxing. I've seen him during sessions stop sparring sessions in the middle of a round just to sort of reinforce different things. And he has a really good way of being the big brother sort of figure with the guys. He has a joke with them and a laugh with them and everything else. But when it comes time to work, he's super serious and gets the best out of his fighters. So I know it's all arguable. I know everyone will say their trainer's the best and such is the best. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, in my opinion, who the 10 best are. So I think Angelo Hyder for me. I suppose it comes down to, if I was back in the late 90s and I was going to turn pro and all these trainers were available now, who would I go with? And this is probably why I've come to the list I have. And if I had the pick out of anyone, I would definitely be with Angelo Hyder. So again, just my opinion. There's others out there like Tony Del Vecchio. He's another good one. Who else did I miss? Joel Keegan. I said Joel, didn't I? No, Joel Keegan's another one, trainer with Sam Goodman. So look, there's a lot of great trainers out there, all doing great things, but I can only have 10. So just in my opinion, that is my top 10 list. So just in no particular order again. So Angelo Hyder, Alfie DiCarlo, Steve Della / Luke Meldon, Sam, who else did I say there? Sam Brizzy, Jeff Fennick, Gareth Williams, Lincoln Hudson, Tapu Apataya, Ben Harrington, Billy Hussein, was in there in the top 2. So that's my list. So give us your thoughts there, guys. It's just something a little bit different anyway, isn't it, to talk about? And you would have noticed that I didn't have, obviously, Uncle Igor in there. I just think I don't want to lay the boots in him. I just don't think he's in the top 10 trainers in Australia. It's as simple as that. I just don't think he's done a lot with the Zoo boys and improved their deficiencies, their flaws, and a good trainer. The first sign of a good trainer is you see their fighters actually improve, and I just don't think the boys have. Just my opinion anyway. All right, guys, well, that's going to do it for today. As you can see behind me, just a beautiful, beautiful day. I know I've said that a couple of times, but I'm going to go out and enjoy the day today. Hope you do too, and we'll catch you tomorrow.